There's one man that could easily stomp Batman if he were to ever go too far. If he were to take a life. That man is Batman himself. Today we're going to be covering Volume 1 of Chip Zdarsky's run with Batman, which is issues 125 to 130. Failsafe. This is Comicstorian, where I take some of your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues, and I break them down into full stories. I put together all of the issues for the overarching storyline or the volume itself, and today we're going to be covering the Batman storyline by Chip Zdarsky, like I said. So let's get into his run, because this is the beginning of it. Since his return to Gotham, Batman has been on edge. He can hardly sleep without waking up from some nightmare. The problem is he doesn't dream unless he wants to. It's how he can use his subconscious to piece together a mystery of what's to come. Night falls, Batman responds to a hostage situation involving a gunman holding one of Gotham's elite hostage, telling the police to back away or he'll kill them. He swears to God he will. But that's when the lights go out, and from the shadows, Batman steps out. Not God. Not even close. Before the gunman can even turn and pull the trigger, a grappling hook is around the man's wrist, and he's thrown out of the window. However, it's already too quiet. Did he already? The gunman dangles from the outside of the apartment building, trying to get back in, but Batman crashes through the window, pulling him back in, and the man screams, "I'm sorry!" Batman throws him to the ground, telling him, "Shut up! You're just a flunky, pulling the trigger for money. Who sent you?" This is when the message went out. Penguin's message. He told the people of Gotham that he is like them, hard-working, earning what he has like any other honest American, but the elites, they never worked a hard day in their lives. This is why he's killing anyone in Gotham who has inherited over $5 million, unless they give that money to the people of the city. It is time for the elites, the ones who sit above them, who destroy the world, to pay for what they've done. Batman watches the video over and over again. This is ludicrous. Penguin was born into wealth. He's just twisting the truth. But that's when Tim Drake walks in, telling him that he heard about Colin. He knows that Colin was a friend. Bruce shrugs it off. I suppose so. When I first came back to Gotham, Colin was a wild bachelor. I'd often use him to cement Bruce Wayne's playboy status. And once he married Clara, it was over. Tim then tells him that's just it. We've all been a little concerned. Ever since you lost your fortune in the Joker War, it feels like you're never Bruce Wayne anymore. Night and day, you're out there as Batman. It's too much, even for you. It's amazing how quickly my social invitations have dried up once my bank account lost a few zeros. It's freed up time to do the job. But even still, I'm qualified enough to be invited to the Flugenheim Gala, which is surely going to be Penguin's next target. Tim looks at the invitation and states that Penguin is murdering the rich. He thinks that they're still gonna have the gala, won't they cancel it? Batman takes off his mask. No, it's the hardest part of this job. This city wants to die. Once the sun goes down, the hundreds of people gather around the entrance to the gala just as Batman expected. Batman gets in and tells Tim that with this many people, there's a 98% chance that the Penguin will use gas to kill everyone. Head to the boiler. Investigate it while I keep an eye out on the main hall. After getting his belt, Batman goes back to the party, and just as expected, Penguin welcomes everyone to the gala, even though he's pretty sure none of them deserve to be there. I would also like to welcome you all to your death! Batman asks if everything is all clear, and Tim tells him yep, injected the boiler with a neutralizing agent, just like you said. Batman quickly puts on his mask, telling Penguin, "You're too late." Tim fights his way topside with Batman closing in on Penguin, and Penguin yelling that it wasn't supposed to be like this, and Batman tells him, "This is bold, even for you. Usually you're careful, with the sheen of legitimacy." But as Batman grabs the Penguin, he begins to melt in his hands, and it's Clayface who is there, telling him, "You've doomed everyone." Suddenly the entire building begins to rumble, and Batman asks, "What game is he playing?" And Clayface tells him that Penguin didn't want to leave anything to chance. He wants everyone dead. If the gas didn't do it, the building will. Batman tells Tim to start getting everyone out, and then he turns back to Clayface, holding out a small device. I was hoping that I'd run into you again. I've also injected you with a formula that I've been working on. It'll turn your clay into an explosive. Clayface looks at him. You wouldn't. Batman tells him, try me! Save these people and tell me where Penguin is, or you'll see how serious I am. Across the room, Tim is getting ready to blow open the doors for everyone to escape. That's when one of the gunmen that he had taken down begins to get up. He points his gun, and suddenly there's the crack of a bullet being fired as Tim is shot through the neck. Batman screams, telling Clayface that he better cover everyone from the falling debris, or you're done! And with that, the whole building explodes as Batman rushes over to grab Tim to bring him to the hospital. The whole time, Batman thinks to himself that he had to do this once before in a different time, with a different soldier, with Jason Todd. He couldn't just bring Tim or Jason in. He had to remove the costume and left the authorities to pick them up because of the mission. The mission, the damned mission. A few moments later, inside of the hospital, Batman looms out of the shadows. You've made a lot of bad decisions over the years, but this is the worst. Penguin looks up from his bed coughing. Took you long enough, how's the brat? It'll take more than your goons to murder one of my men. Why'd you do it? You always skirted the line, but why this? If you can't tell, I'm dying. Mercury poisoning. I can't catch a break, unlike you and the other billionaires. My whole life I was surrounded by guys like you, rich, smug. It all came easy to you, but not to me. I earned everything that I built in my empire, the Iceberg Lounge, everything, and they still looked down on me. And now, they get to live while I... Penguin begins to cough. It's not fair. Life isn't fair, Penguin. He then tells him, you're no man of the people. Unless those people are prisoners, your final delusional days will be behind bars. Penguin laughs. I left you for last. Those sirens you hear, your allies, my enemies, the Gotham police, you're on the list. Unlike the rest, I could never kill you, but I can end you. Penguin presses the nurse's button as he takes a pill, and within seconds, the cyanide takes effect, choking the Penguin. Batman tries to stop him, but as he tries to stop the Penguin from swallowing, the nurse comes running into the room. She doesn't see Batman trying to help the Penguin. She sees Batman murdering the Penguin. Later, Barbara calls, waking Batman from his nap, asking how is he holding up. You know, with the whole... Batman stops her. What, the Batman is a murderer talk? I'm fine. Penguin grossly overestimated the damage that he could cause. If anything, it's helped me. Criminals are more scared now. Crime is down. Barbara tells him maybe, but he hasn't visited Tim in the hospital yet. He ignores her. Something is wrong. Is it itch in my brain? A mystery just trying to reach out. I'm lost. Meanwhile, over in the Batcave, there's a quiet beep that begins to get louder and louder. The computer voice says, complete activate. And suddenly a large tube bursts out of the ground. It begins to open and a robot steps out. And the computer says, online, failsafe online. Each day and each night the soldiers come out. These are the bravest young men and women that Batman has ever known, protecting their city and other cities. But tonight, one soldier in particular is still patrolling when he shouldn't be. Tim looks out over the city with Batman asking what he's doing. And Tim says the same as him, his job. Batman tells him no. You're not ready. You should have assessed the situation at the Gala. You should have seen the gunman before turning his back. Tim asks him, are you serious? I was saving lives. Does me getting shot remind you of Jason? Or Alfred? You're not in charge of me. I don't even wear a bat. Tim jumps off the building and Batman tells himself that he has been uneasy as of late. It's not just because of the nightmares. He couldn't marry Selina because he couldn't afford that level of distraction. But Tim and Barbara, they deserve love and happiness. None of them truly understand that this life won't allow it. Even with Cobblepot's death, there will be more enemies, unending. But before Batman could finish this thought, a red light shines behind him and the robot Failsafe jumps in swinging, narrowly missing him. Batman tries to fight back, but the robot is too quick, catching his feet, throwing him back into the wall. Without hesitation, Batman gets to his feet, and he charges in, but Failsafe easily stops the attack, returning with one of his own. Batman knows that he can't win, and if he stays any longer, he'll more than likely die. He calls out to activate the Batmobile, but as the car speeds by, he fires his grappling hook, attaching himself, throwing some explosive batarangs to give himself some time. But as he's whipped out of the cave and tumbles onto the street, Barbara radios in asking what is going on. His vitals are all over the place. I'll live, but we've got a new enemy. Robotic. She tells him she'll scan what she can, but while Batman tries to buy her some time, Failsafe continues to completely overpower Batman, blow after blow. This is bad. I have to get away. He fires the grappling hook once more, and Failsafe grabs a hold of the cowl, and for a brief moment, sheer terror can be seen in Batman's face. A split second later, Failsafe whips Batman back to the ground, punching him. But before blacking out, Batman manages to ask, "Who are you?" "Justice, Failsafe." But before Failsafe could deliver the final blow, the rest of the Bat family race in to help. The first ones on the scene are Luke, Cassandra, and Stephanie. However, they are all dispatched within seconds of arrival. But as they fight long enough to keep a distraction, Tim hurries over, helping Batman into the Batmobile. "We gotta get you out of here." Batman tries to think and speak. "I know that name. Failsafe." But Tim tells him that he's got other things to worry about right now. At that moment, Nightwing comes in on the radio. "Sorry for being late." And then he ramps his bike over the oncoming Batmobile, launching his bike into Failsafe. Failsafe stalks through the fire and the smoke. "Little soldiers, everything is tainted." Nightwing calls out to Barbara, asking if she has anything on this thing. But as the signals are beginning to jam, Failsafe launches himself into the air, coming back down with enough force to knock everyone and everything around them back. Failsafe picks up Luke, pulling off his mask, telling him, "You cannot stop this. You should not even attempt to." Elsewhere, Tim hurries into the old Batcave, telling him, "This is crazy. We have to get you help." Batman tells him, "No, I need you here. I know what I have to do." He hobbles off into the dark with Tim asking, "What is it?" And Batman looks at him and says one word, "Alone." He begins to take off the suit and he tells himself that they wouldn't understand the lengths that he's gone to. He's softened. He's surrounded himself with children. But in his early days, God help him, in those early days, he went too far. Failsafe is familiar. But familiar doesn't mean the same thing when you have a mind that remembers everything. Batman, not just Bruce Wayne, kneels before a chest. "I did this to myself." But then Bruce's voice changes. "There's only one man who could have done this to me." Tim looks back asking, "What are you saying?" And the twisted voice tells him, "It's okay, boy. It's me. I'm the Batman." As Batman reemerges, he is now wearing a purple, red, and yellow bat suit. You see, long ago there was a situation that resulted in Batman being removed from the Justice League. He had created files on everyone within the League and how to stop them should things ever get bad. Those files ended up in the hands of Ra's al Ghul. Thankfully, that was taken care of, but angrily and rightfully so, Superman had one question for Batman. What's the contingency plan for Batman? How does the League take down the man who's planned for the League? In a world where Batman knows every move, who stops the Batman? But right now in the present, Tim's question is, who are you? Tim steps back tripping and the Batman catches him. "Careful, Robin. We don't want anything to happen to you. We still have work to do, chum." Tim is confused. What is going on? What's the costume? Why does your voice sound so different? "I am Batman. Pure and simple. The Batman of Zur-En-Arrh. Your Batman called upon me to save everyone." As Zur-En-Arrh Batman opens up a hidden room within the cave, Tim looks down asking, "Bruce?" But Zur-Batman tells him, "I'm better than Bruce. He created me, within his mind, a backup version of Batman stripped free of Bruce Wayne. I am his protection against psychological attacks." Bruce thought rightfully that he created a failsafe, because he could never create the thing to stop Batman if he ever went too far. As Zur-Batman gives Tim a crooked smile, Tim says, "You know how to stop this, right?" "Unfortunately, I've erased my memory knowing our Batman would call on me." Tim sighs, Zur-En-Arrh. "Oh God, I read about you in the Black Case files. Of course Bruce created a contingency backup. Who created a contingency backup?" Zur-En-Arrh Batman pauses for a moment and looks up. He is here. Failsafe breaks through the cave walls and begins to scan, looking down in the hole. Zur-En-Arrh. Zur-En-Arrh Batman fires a micro-rocket that grabs a hold of Failsafe for a moment, then tosses the device to Tim, telling him, "Do not hesitate, boy. Everything is on the line. The mission only ends when we're dead." And as Zur-Batman and Tim turn on their energy swords, Failsafe says, "A Batman who has lost his way is death. You must be stopped. Batman has taken a life." Failsafe kicks Tim away and Tim yells, "Batman didn't kill the Penguin! He's being framed!" Failsafe knocks Zur-En-Arrh Batman back, and Tim throws 2 small explosives into the air, detonating them, causing some of the cave to fall in. Zur-En-Arrh Batman then gets back up, telling him that they have to stop him for good. But Tim hurries over to him, helping him up, telling him, "You might be the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh, but you're still in Bruce's body, and it's already taken a massive beating. We have to get away." Tim drags Zur-En-Arrh Batman out of the cave and into the manor, where Zur-En-Arrh Batman pulls away, setting charges on the wall. "We need to get ready to destroy Failsafe." But as Zur-En-Arrh Batman readies himself, Tim shouts, "That thing almost killed us!" We have to be strategic. If you really are Batman without Bruce, then you need to start acting like it. A few seconds later, Failsafe begins to walk out of the cave and the explosive charges go off, practically being ineffective. He continues to walk through the manor, tearing pictures down as he goes. Is pure Batman in more pain than Batman, more sentimental, or are you just relentless, uncaring? The clawed hand moves around the portrait of Alfred as Zur-En-Arrh Batman leaps in, telling him, "Stay away from Alfred!" Zur-En-Arrh Batman is knocked away, and Tim is too, with Failsafe telling him, "It is wrong to fight for him. Batman doesn't care about you, just his mission. Fighting me just causes your family pain." Zur-En-Arrh Batman steps back in. "They aren't my family. They're my soldiers, my army, and the war is not done." As the two begin to battle, Failsafe says that he created him to stop him. "Your soldiers are inconsequential." But as they fight, Bruce is screaming in Zur-En-Arrh's head, telling him, "Don't lose sight of who you are, of who we are. I let you out because I thought that you could deactivate Failsafe." Zur-En-Arrh yells back, "You created him! I can stop him!" And Bruce tells him, "I know his tricks. He's trying to stop the Batman that he knows, the pure Batman that you are. But you are Batman as well as Bruce Wayne, and Tim isn't your soldier. He is our son!" Bruce begins to take control of his mind once more, dodging an oncoming attack from Failsafe and avoiding him. He rushes over to Tim, grabbing him, and then jumps out the window, bringing Tim to safety, telling him to get as far away as he can. And once he can, call for help. He runs back inside, telling himself that he can't do this alone, but he won't let anyone die because of him. Failsafe lashes out, grabbing a hold of him. "It's you again, isn't it? The original. It's best this way." Bruce struggles, managing to free himself. "I didn't realize that programmed you to talk so much." And then he strikes a common weak point of any android, hoping to lessen its mobility. But the attack bounces off. "Of course not. He's too damned good. Okay, plan B, get to the Batcave, set self-destruct and..." But before he could finish his thought, Failsafe grabs him. "I see the wheels turning. You think the final step is to activate self-destruct sequence. I disabled it." Bruce is thrown back once more, but all Bruce can think about at this moment right now is Dick, Tim, Jason, Damian, his legacy, his sons. He can't move. His body's giving out. This is a good death, isn't it? In this place with all these memories, it would be a good death. But Batman doesn't die. In a moment, he stops hearing Failsafe and instead he hears another voice. His voice. And when he means it, his voice is doom. The shadowy figure appears behind both of them and goes to Failsafe. "I'm going to need you to step away from my friend." Failsafe turns back to Superman. "I urge you, fly away." But Superman doesn't move. He holds his position, telling Failsafe to back away now. Bruce knows that this isn't going to be a typical fight for Superman because he designed Failsafe to be a failsafe for everything. A green light begins to glow as Failsafe pulls out 2 kryptonite daggers. "You are to leave." Superman backs off, keeping a distance as he tries to focus in on his attack. But Superman's worst case scenario plays out. Failsafe doesn't chase him. He turns back to Bruce. "Superman, don't come." But Superman either can't hear him or ignores him and rushes in anyway. Then suddenly stops. Failsafe stops just short of Bruce as a third dagger jets out of his back. It lodges itself into Superman's stomach. He pulls back, falling to his knees, but before Failsafe could continue his advance, there's a sudden tap as an arrow sticks into Failsafe's neck. Green Arrow gets ready to pull back another explosive arrow, but as his first goes off, Failsafe releases 2 mini rockets that blast him away. Next, Martian Manhunter takes his turn to separate the robot from the scene, but inside, Bruce can already feel his body shutting down from his beating. Superman asks, laying next to him, "What is that thing?" Bruce tells him that it is a robot designed to take out Batman. It is everything that makes Batman Batman, and it knows everything about Batman. And I'm sorry for this next part. Using what strength he has left, he rolls over, pulling out the shard of kryptonite from Superman's stomach. As the dust settles, Green Arrow rushes back in along with Tim, and the two of them begin to drag Bruce and Superman out, trying to get them help. Green Arrow sets Bruce into the Justice League jet, telling him not to worry. The jet will fly itself, and Tim asks, "What are you doing?" Green Arrow activates the hatch to close while he's just outside, telling him, "I'm going to see if I can help stop this thing." You really think the Justice League has a shot without Green Arrow? As the jet begins to take off, the rest of the Justice League descend upon Failsafe, but the advanced robot takes out each member with minimal wounds, telling them, "Do not follow." He then rockets into the air as Green Arrow says that they need to follow it before it can catch the jet. Martian Manhunter then watches Failsafe fly away, telling him, "It isn't chasing the jet, it's heading towards Gotham." The four heroes quickly follow, but as Hawkgirl flies in, she feels a sudden pull at her wings, and she's pulled into the building. She struggles to try and free herself, asking what is this, and Martian Manhunter declares, "How can it be? Her wings are nth metal. They shouldn't even be magnetized." But just as he finishes speaking, several guns appear throughout the buildings and fire down on him, creating a ring of fire locking him down. Black Canary says she'll put it out, but as she tries to scream, several masks are shot out, one landing directly on her face, stopping her scream. Green Arrow runs over trying to pull the mask off. "I can't do it! She's gonna die!" But Failsafe turns to them. "She will not. There is enough oxygen being allowed for her to live. Just not scream." Nightwing arrives watching all of these anti-Justice League measures unfold and radios back to Barbara, telling them, "This is going too well for Failsafe. Hey, isn't this 5th and Conway?" Barbara asks, "Didn't Bruce own the block?" Nightwing realizes exactly what is going on. That's it. Failsafe lured the Justice League here. A block designed to stop them. Green Arrow looks over asking, "Okay, what part of this is supposed to stop me then?" And Failsafe rockets towards him. "I am." Back on the jet, Bruce forces himself to get back up, with Tim yelling at him to lay back down. They're almost there. Bruce readies himself, telling him, "I'm sorry, but we need to face reality. Failsafe will be coming for me, and Superman is dying. This world can't afford to lose Superman. He's its hero. He's the greatest weapon. I changed coordinates to his fortress. Everything you need to make him whole will be there." He then opens the hatch to the back of the jet, and Tim asks, "What do you think you're doing?" And Bruce turns back to him. "You're a Robin. You'll save Superman. I'm proud of you, of the man you've become, Tim. Don't worry about me. I'll survive this." Bruce then falls back out of the hatch, landing in the ocean, and begins to sink deep into the depths. But as he does, a green light begins to blink off of his belt as someone begins to swim up. In what seems like seconds, Bruce opens his eyes, sitting up, and Aquaman gives him a sigh of relief, telling him that he's okay. Bruce sits up in one of Aquaman's healing pods, and Aquaman says that it was able to fix most of his internal damage. The Sanitanium fish have been working on his external wounds. Bruce asks how long has he been out, and Aquaman tells him 2 weeks. "Everyone, is Gotham?" Aquaman sits down, telling him that he's sorry, but Gotham has fallen. Failsafe is one step ahead of everyone who tries to go in. He created robotic minions who patrol the streets looking for enemies. Some of his proteges are still out there attempting to resist, but most of them have been captured. Its eyes and ears are everywhere. Everyone assumed Batman was dead, but this Failsafe still searches every corner of the world, and soon it'll search the depths. For now, he knows he's alive. He's calling for you. He knows you can't stay away from your city. Bruce picks up his mask, looking at it, trying to think of something. Batman always has a plan. "So what's the plan, Batman?" Aquaman then says that Failsafe wants him to know. He wants the world to know that Gotham is his. Batman's going to need to come and get it. Even across the world, in Atlantis, Batman can feel it. Gotham screams. Failsafe has locked the city down. No one in, no one out. He has laid waste anyone who could help. He has created the ultimate nightmare scenario, a Gotham with a Joe Chill around every corner. Every alley is a crime alley. It's obvious that he's programmed not to kill, but he has spread gasoline throughout Gotham and turned a blind eye to the fires. As Batman watches the reports coming out of Gotham, Aquaman tells him that this is bad. The other leaders tried to get to him. People are getting hurt, so he has to ask, What is this thing, Bruce? It's my fault. My subconscious created Failsafe to stop me if I ever went too far. If Batman ever willingly took a life, he knows all of my plans. He knows all of my moves. He's faster and stronger, all by design. He laid dormant, his program scanning the news and the chatter for signs that I'm going too far. It wasn't known at the time, but Alfred was in charge of resetting its activation in case of a false alarm. But with Alfred gone, there's no one trying to stop it. Now he's killing Gotham. This thing knows your moves. It knows that you're here. You're endangering Atlantis, Batman. And even knowing that, Aquaman orders all of Atlantis to protect Batman while he attempts to do what he can to stop Failsafe. However, as Aquaman gears himself up for his fight, he notices a hole in the ground of his armory. Before he even has a chance to think, Failsafe strikes, stabbing him in the chest and threatening the others if they come any closer. Because he has Aquaman on the tip of the spear, he can pierce Aquaman's heart. As the Atlantean army watches, Failsafe asks, "Where is he?" And Aquaman tells them, "Don't!" But one of the officers yells that he is in the former king's quarters, hiding like a surface coward. Batman already knew that this would happen. That's why when they got to Aquaman's rooms, he was already gone, formulating a plan from the Watchtower out in space. Failsafe won't be able to use the teleporters to get there. The Justice League security is so good that he can't even bypass it, which means he'll have to come up here. But before Batman can finish working on his plan, the tower warns him of an unauthorized vessel approaching. Batman gives it the command to attack, but even through the barrage of missiles and bullets, Failsafe lands on the moon. He rips a hole in the side of the tower, and Batman grabs one of the weapons from the armory that might stop him, or at least slow him down. As the blast hits Failsafe in the back, he tells Batman, "That was ineffective," to which he did expect, but the first shot got through Failsafe's outer casing, just as he had hoped. Failsafe turns to attack, but Batman grapples onto one of the walls, ordering the override for the airlock, which ejects Failsafe from the tower. Once Failsafe is out in space, Batman shuts the hatch, telling himself that he only has about 30 seconds. He needs to make them count. He quickly runs to the teleporters, and just as expected, Failsafe crashes through the walls, telling him, "You cannot escape!" But Batman already knows that if he takes this teleporter, he will fall into one of Failsafe's traps. He'd have disabled all of the teleporters on Earth and bring him to one particular location, because that's what Batman would do, which means that's what Failsafe would do. Batman stands there in the pod, telling Failsafe to use that big robot brain, and as Failsafe processes the situation, "You've reversed the teleporters." As the teleporter room explodes, there's a flash of blue light, and when Failsafe is able to stand, he finds himself in the Hall of Justice. But Batman is left drifting in space. The Watchtower is destroyed. Batman tells himself, "All right, time to finish this and go home." He calls for Javelin 1 to pick him up, but the Watchtower computer tells him that Javelin 1 is inoperable. So Batman calls for any Javelin available, but the computer tells him again that all Javelins are inoperable. Batman puts it together. Failsafe destroyed any means of his escape. No ships, no teleporters. Just the cold death of space awaiting him. No sooner than the coldness of space begins to set in, Batman is already formulating a plan to get himself back to Earth. He approximates the distance as 240,000 miles, and the blast is already pushing him in the right direction. But his oxygen levels won't keep him alive long enough to reach Earth. But floating in the debris near him is one of the damaged escape pods, and with it, hopefully its air supply. Using the compressed air within his grappling gun, Batman launches himself over, ripping out one of the tanks, luckily finding it completely full. After taking one of the pod's boosters, Batman then uses it to propel himself back towards Earth in only short bursts, building up his speed, making sure to not go too fast that he'd pass out. Before long, Earth's gravity begins to take over, but that isn't the main issue. The rapidly growing heat plus compressed air equals explosive results. As the air tank explodes, Batman braces himself, trying to not pass out from the speed at which he's descending. With careful shifts in his position, he smacks down into the Arctic just outside of Superman's fortress. The impact of the landing sends shockwaves throughout the area, alerting a certain recovering Kryptonian. Superman opens up his solar treatment pod and Tim rushes over. "Wait, you're not done yet!" But Superman says that he heard him. He heard But before he could finish his sentence, Batman walks in, smoking from his landing. I need access to the workshop now. Batman looks over at Superman, asking, Are you good? I'm not 100%, but I'm getting there. Good. You'll need to buy me some time. Long enough for me to end this once and for all. Shortly after that, Failsafe begins to walk towards the fortress, but this time, Superman is prepared, wearing a full set of armor to protect himself from kryptonite. The two begin to clash, and Superman goes straight into the offensive, punching Failsafe into the ground. But as he tries to end it, Failsafe tells him, There are things that many don't know, things that even you don't know, like how Kryptonians, like humans, have pressure points. Failsafe snakes some of his tendrils into Superman's helmet, pushing specific points on his neck, causing involuntary heat vision to be reflected off of Superman's visor and back into his face. It's not fatal, but it's extremely unpleasant and disorienting, and in order to stop it, Superman needed to break open the protective mask and expose himself. As Superman does just that, Failsafe reaches for his kryptonite dagger, telling Superman, You are a good friend. Back inside of the fortress, Tim asks what is the plan. Batman explains that Failsafe is almost indestructible, but up in the watchtower, he managed to get hit with a new Genesis Element X laser, creating a small hole in his upper back. Through that opening, Batman can access Failsafe's programming with nanobots. The problem is, he can't just create a virus. Failsafe's programming will reject anything that it sees as hostile, but they can subtly shift his traits, introduce a personality extension that won't be immediately attacked by the original program. They might have a chance. Tim asks, what if it doesn't work? What if he keeps coming? We're miles away from help. Batman pauses, beginning to think about his nightmare of Joker killing Tim and the rest of his family. Do the dreams of the dead come true? If he dies here, does the Joker then live? No, he'll beat this. He'll save everyone. He pulls down his cowl. This thing is designed to defeat Batman, but it doesn't stand a chance against Batman and Robin. The two of them run out, Batman feeling himself already responding to his teammate. Dick went off book. Jason hated practicing, but Tim, he loves teamwork. They've always had each other's backs. But this is different. They're not fighting some ex-con in question mark suits, or the mindless brutality of a Killer Croc. They're up against Batman himself without restraint or weakness. Let's see if they can change it. Through the small hole in the battle, Batman injects the virus and it seemingly takes hold immediately. What did you do? I gave you a bit of a programming upgrade. Compassion. It's what separated us. I may be the Dark Knight, I may be vengeance, but I still care, and now we both do. Failsafe begins to click over and over as he wanders off into the fortress, which causes alarms since Superman kept many of the world's most powerful weapons inside. Moments later, Failsafe stumbles back out, twitching and clicking as he walks, half broken, half functional, stating that he needs to eliminate Batman, and he raises his arm. As Failsafe points the gun, Tim tries to yell to it to appeal to its new programming, but it doesn't work. It's too late. Batman is like everyone who ever lived. He survived everything, until he didn't. Batman looks over to Tim, telling him, It's okay, it'll be. But before he could finish, Failsafe shoots him, evaporating the man that once stood there. Tim falls to his knees. No, this isn't possible, you're supposed to have compassion. Failsafe clicks as he destroys the gun. That was compassion. Batman is eliminated. Click and program. But what Tim doesn't see as Failsafe flies into the sky is that somewhere, someplace, sometime, Batman's body resides. And there you have it, the conclusion of Volume 1 of Chip Zdarsky's Failsafe storyline. Where did Batman go? We actually don't know yet. Right now, this is as far as the story goes, but it is the conclusion to the Failsafe storyline. So if you want to see where this goes, make sure you like and subscribe, as we'll be bringing you the individual issues and then linking them together to the next full story as we get enough issues to, give you the conclusion to a story arc. On that note, I will see you later.